right after rookie kicker Andreas Szmyt botched what could have been the moment of the game, maybe his entire career. Shedeur Sanders walked up to him, looked him in the eye, and said something that shut the whole internet up. And here's the kicker. No pun intended. It wasn't about stats or blame or what they could have done differently. It was support. Real, raw, no camera posing, no coach in the year type of leadership. The kind that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but does get replayed a million times on TikTok, Twitter, and every sports podcast that suddenly wants to talk character arcs. Let's rewind. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Because if you've been following Shedeur Sanders at all, like really watching a roller coaster, you know this is not the version of him people expected. Remember his draft process? The whispers, the hot takes, the Reddit threads. Too flashy. Too much of a social media guy. Not a locker room leader. And the always classic. Is he tough enough for the NFL? Translation. He had swagger and people hated it. And look, it's not like Shedeur didn't give them ammo. From flexing watches mid-game to calling his own number like he was starring in an A24 film about legacy pressure. The guy's been confident, maybe too confident. Coming from Colorado, where his dad, Deion Primetime Sanders, runs a show, the line between branding and ball playing was always blurry. People wanted to see him get humbled. They were waiting for it. Fast forward to the Browns. He's not the starter. Yet, the quarterback situation is, well, let's just say it's a case study in how not to run an offense. But Shedeur, he's been biding his time, learning the playbook, doing the post-practice grind. Still, no one was calling him the future. He was a side note, a maybe, until that kick. Final seconds. Game on the line. Rookie kicker Andreas Szmyt steps up. The kind of pressure that either turns you into a hometown hero or meme template. And in classic Browns fashion, the ball sails just wide. You could hear the collective sigh of Cleveland from space. And in that moment, where every camera is zooming in on the agony, the coaches are grimacing, and the fans are doing a mental math of, how do we lose like this again? Shedeur makes a move. He walks straight to Szmyt. No eye rolls. No dramatic helmet throw. Just Shedeur, calm as ever, placing a hand on the guy's helmet and saying something that none of us could hear clearly, but everyone felt. It was the most powerful mic drop moment. Without a mic, social media exploded. The clip got sliced, re-uploaded, slowed down, captioned, analyzed like it was a Zapruder film. People weren't just reacting, they were reconsidering. Was this the same guy who was getting grilled for being too Hollywood? The guy people called a product of nepotism? Suddenly, the narrative flipped. Because let's be honest, leadership moments like that, you don't fake those. That's not PR coaching. That's not your agent whispering in your AirPods. That's instinct. That's character. That's the stuff that separates plays well under pressure from is the reason the team holds it together. And for Shedeur Sanders, it was the exact kind of moment he needed. What's wild is that it wasn't even his play. He wasn't the one who missed. He could have stayed out of it. He could have been frustrated, kept his helmet on, talked to the offensive line, stared at the Jumbotron like, what just happened? But no, he knew the cameras were rolling and chose kindness over chaos, support over sulking. Now think about the optics of this. A rookie quarterback accompanying a rookie kicker after a brutal miss in a city that is starving for leadership. The Browns are not exactly known for quarterback stability. You got organizational chaos, talent that's been shuffled like a deck of Uno cards, and fans who developed a nervous twitch anytime the fourth quarter starts. And here's this 22-year-old showing more composure and emotional intelligence than guys with Pro Bowl appearances. No script, no post-game media polish. Just raw, authentic leadership in a moment where everyone else fell silent. People noticed. The NFL noticed. Former players were tweeting about it. Coaches were reposting it. ESPN talking heads who hadn't said his name in weeks suddenly had takes. And fans? Fans were in the comments saying things like, I'd run through a wall for this guy and that's my QB. You could almost hear the sound of sports writers rewriting their preseason predictions. Even the hardcore haters, especially them, had to admit it. This wasn't the guy they thought he was. And maybe that's the whole point. Shedeur didn't tell us he's a leader. He showed us. He didn't need a flashy quote or a tearjerker interview. He just showed up for someone when they felt like the entire world had turned against them. Because here's the thing no one tells you about leadership. It's not about winning. It's about what you do when someone else fails. That's when it counts. And Shedeur, he passed the test most guys flunk. The irony? This wasn't even about football anymore. This became a moment. One of those rare blips in sports where character, empathy, and timing collide. And when that happens, it sticks. It transcends a highlight reel. It becomes part of someone's legacy. In 10 seconds, Shedeur Sanders didn't just console a teammate. He reframed his entire reputation. Now, let's not kid ourselves. The NFL is a business. One moment doesn't guarantee you the starting job. But these moments, they matter. Because when a team is trying to decide who leads a huddle, they're not just looking at completion percentages. They're looking at trust. And what builds trust faster than showing up when it's not about you? You don't forget the guy who has your back when you're at your lowest. You don't forget the guy who says, "I got you," when everyone else is looking away. That's how locker rooms shift. That's how narratives flip. And of course, this is the NFL. So give it a week, and we'll probably be back to debating blitz packages and arm strength. But this story, this one sticks. Because in a league that often prioritizes talent over temperament, Shedeur just reminded everyone that heart still matters. That emotional intelligence isn't soft, it's strategic. That sometimes the real game-changing plays happen after the whistle. So give this man his flowers. Or at least a fake award. How about most likely to become a franchise QB by accident? Because if leadership was a stat, Shedeur Sanders just dropped a 99 rating. Quietly, smoothly, while the world was still busy reacting to the miss. He was rewriting the moment. And if you're still not convinced, just wait. Because if that's how he handles someone else's failure, imagine how he'll handle the spotlight when it's his. The clock's ticking. The narrative's shifting. And the Browns may have more than just a backup on their hands. They might have a blueprint. So what do you think? Was this Shedeur's defining moment? Is this the start of his takeover arc? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you're here for more NFL plot twists, celebrity meltdowns, and corporate faceplants, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. When it's someone else who's just imploded, someone who just became the headline for all the wrong reasons, and you still step into the frame, that's not easy. That's not safe. But that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders did. This wasn't just a nice teammate moment. Let's not cheapen it like that. This was chess in a room full of checkers. Because Shedeur didn't just comfort Andreas Szmyt. He claimed something bigger. Without saying a word, he planted his flag in the dirt and told the entire NFL, "This is who I am." And suddenly, that whole coach's son narrative hit different. Let's talk about that for a second, because growing up Sanders is not your average upbringing. When your dad is Deion primetime Sanders, you don't just get the spotlight, you get burned by it. Every move you make, every decision, every post-game comment, people are watching. People are judging. It's not a blank slate. It's a legacy, and it's heavy. Shedeur has been under that microscope forever. From his high school highlights to college transfer to Colorado, and now the NFL, it's always been, is he living up to the name? Or worse, would he even be here if it weren't for his dad? But in that split-second post-kick moment, there was no Deion, no dad, no flashy suit or sunglasses or social media cameras. Just Shedeur, on his own, making a choice. And what a choice it was. This is what makes the story stick. Not because it's flashy, but because it's real. Because this league, it's full of guys who know how to win. But finding someone who knows how to lose with dignity. And more importantly, who knows how to stand by someone else while they're losing. That's rare. Let's be honest. Most people in Shedeur's position would have stayed out of it. Would have let the kicker take the heat. Because, hey, it wasn't their mistake. And that's the culture in so many locker rooms. Protect your brand. Stay above the drama. Don't let someone else's failure pull you down. But Shedeur walked into it. And that tells you everything. This wasn't about strategy. This was values. And oh man, it rattled people. You could see the shift happening in real time. The same talking heads who were rolling their eyes at his confidence just weeks ago, now they're calling him the emotional core of the locker room. The guys who question his draft value are now talking long-term upside and intangibles. It's funny how quickly people change their tune when the receipts start rolling in. Because this moment, this one gesture, it held more weight than a 400-yard game. It told us who Shedeur really is when there's nothing left to gain. That's not media training. That's not posturing. That's real. And the thing is, he didn't need to do it. Think about that. He's not the face of the franchise. He's not the starter. He's not even guaranteed a future in Cleveland. The way this league flips rosters like pancakes. But he still showed up like a leader. Why? Because that's what real leaders do. And whether the Browns realize it yet or not, that's the kind of energy you build a team around. Let's zoom out for a second. Look at the culture of the NFL right now. We're in the era of massive contracts, personal brands, cryptic Instagram posts, and QB1S turning into walking PR machines. Half the time, you don't know if someone's giving a post-game speech or pitching a documentary. But Shedeur, he just acted. No polish, no handlers, just instinct. And honestly, isn't that what we're all craving in sports again? A little bit of humanity? Because whether you're a fan, a coach, a teammate, or just some dude watching from your couch with a bag of chips, there's something magnetic about moments like this. Something that feels pure, even in the midst of professional chaos. It reminds you why you started watching sports in the first place. It's not just about the win. It's about who you are when the wind slips away. And make no mistake, Szmyt will remember that moment forever. That missed kick could have been a defining failure. Instead, it became a turning point. Because now, no matter what happens next, he knows someone believed in him. Even when it felt like the whole world didn't. That changes a person. That changes a locker room. So now here's the million-dollar question. What does this mean for Shedeur? Because if you're the Browns front office right now and you didn't feel something shift after that moment, you might need to check your pulse. Forget stats for a second. Forget rankings and depth charts. Just watch the tape. Watch the way he carries himself. Watch how the team responds. Watch how the fans respond. The dude's not just playing the game. He's shaping it. And honestly, it feels like the Browns stumbled into something they weren't even looking for. The narrative was supposed to be developmental project, backup potential, a guy you maybe try out in preseason and stash away for a rainy day. But now, people are asking when the rainy day becomes his day. Because if this is how Shedeur leads in someone else's crisis, imagine how he'll lead in his own spotlight. Imagine what kind of captain he could be when it's his team, his offense, his moment. That's not just QB potential. That's franchise potential. And the wildest part? He didn't even throw a pass to get there. Just a look, a hand on a helmet, a few quiet words that rewrote the narrative louder than any headline. So here we are. A kicker misses. A quarterback consoles. And the NFL watches in silence as something bigger happens. Something that can't be captured in a box score. Something that makes you sit up, rewind the tape, and whisper, "Wait, did we just see the future?" You tell me. Because if you're still not convinced this was Shedeur's moment, the moment, then maybe you're watching the wrong game. But if you felt like we did, then you already know this wasn't about a field goal. This was about a legacy in the making. And if Shedeur Sanders keeps showing up like that, the Browns might have to stop looking for a leader, because they already found him. Shedeur Sanders didn't need a highlight reel. He didn't need a no-look touchdown pass, a fourth-quarter comeback, or a viral sideline celebration. He didn't need to be mic'd up or wire for sound. All it took was one human moment, a flash of emotional intelligence in a game defined by brute strength, to shake up the entire conversation. Because let's face it, football isn't just a sport. It's a pressure cooker. It's a psychological war zone dressed in cleats and eye black. And the NFL, that's the deep end. That's where the pressure doesn't just crack bones. It cracks people. You make one mistake under those lights, and suddenly you're not just a guy who missed a kick. You're a punchline, a cautionary tale, a highlight on SportsCenter's Not Top 10. So what Shedeur did, that wasn't just being nice. That was armor. That was damage control. That was handing SZMYT a shield when everyone else was handing him receipts. And don't underestimate how rare that is. Most guys, especially young QBs, especially backups trying to carve out space in a ruthless league, are laser focused on themselves. Their reps, their snaps, their next chance to prove they're not just clipboard holders in shoulder pads. They're hungry. They're political. They're often scared out of their minds. But Shedeur, he didn't blink. He saw someone else crumbling under the weight of the moment, and he chose empathy over ego. And the truth? That's not just a show of leadership. It's a show of security. Because only someone really confident in their place steps forward like that. And look, we've seen it time and time again. Teams will chase talent to the end of the earth. But talent alone doesn't build dynasties. Talent doesn't hold the locker room together during a 4-game losing streak. Talent doesn't stop the infighting, the trade rumors, the existential spiral when the media turns toxic. Leadership does. And leadership, real leadership, is quiet more often than it's loud. It's subtle. It doesn't always wear a captain's patch or lead the pre-game hype circle. Sometimes it's just being the first guy to say, "You're still good. We've got your back." So now imagine you're the Browns coaching staff, sitting in the film room the next morning, rewinding that moment. You've seen your actual starting QB brush off bad drives, stare blankly at his tablet, maybe throw some side-eye at the O-line. And then you've got this kid, this backup, walking over to a devastated rookie kicker and literally rebuilding him in 10 seconds. How do you not take notice? Because guess what? Everyone else did. The fans saw it. The locker room saw it. The front office saw it. That moment wasn't just for SZMYT. It was a broadcast signal to everyone in the organization. I've got what it takes. Not just to play, but to lead. And let's not get it twisted. This wasn't some PR maneuver. There was no spotlight for this. No fanfare. If anything, the cameras barely caught it. It wasn't flex. It was instinctual. The kind of thing you do not because it's expected, but because you don't know how not to do it. That's character. That's grace under pressure. That's different. So you better believe Shedeur's name is going to come up in more than just quarterback depth chart meetings now. His locker room stock? Through the roof. That's the guy the receivers are going to trust on 4th and long. That's the guy the coaches are going to talk to when things are spiraling mid-game. That's the guy the fans are going to ride for, even when the media starts playing hot potato with the blame. Because if there's one thing Cleveland knows all too well, it's how brutal this sport can be. This fan base has lived in heartbreak. They know the weight of disappointment. They've been down bad for decades. So when they see a guy step up like Shedeur did, that's not just refreshing. It's healing. It's hope. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just a rookie QB showing poise. Not just a team moment gone viral. But the subtle start of something bigger. Something the city has been begging for. A cultural shift. Because make no mistake, the Browns are not a team in need of more raw athleticism. They got plenty of that. They don't need another YouTube-worthy highlight or combined warrior. They need a leader. Someone who can unify. Someone who can anchor the team when the winds shift and the ship starts rocking. And Shedeur, he might just be that guy. The irony of all this is how small the actual moment was. No fireworks. No dramatic music. Just 2 young players. One crushed by failure. One offering reassurance. But isn't that how the most important things start? Quietly? Softly? When nobody's really paying attention. That's how revolutions begin in sports. Not with speeches. Not with trophies. But with actions. You can teach playbooks. You can drill mechanics. But you can't fake grace under fire. You can't coach someone into giving a damn when there's nothing in it for them. That's who Shedeur is. And maybe, just maybe, that's who the Browns need. But hey, don't take my word for it. Watch what happens next. Watch the shift in body language when Shedeur walks into the locker room. Watch how often the camera starts cutting to him on the sideline. Watch the tweets. Watch the whispers from beat reporters. Watch the slow drip of public opinion turning, tilting, Flipping. Because we've seen this before, haven't we? That one player who shows you more with their presence than their pass percentage. The underdog who doesn't just want the job. They earn the locker room before they ever earn the start. And when they do finally get their chance, they're already halfway there because everyone's behind them. And look, we don't know when Shedeur's number will be called. It could be next week. It could be next year. But after this, that clock just started ticking louder. So yeah, maybe Shedeur Sanders hasn't officially arrived yet. But if you're paying attention, you know he's coming. Now, here's your moment. Jump into the comments and tell us. Should Shedeur be QB1? Is this the leadership shift the Browns have been needing for, I don't know, ever? Or are we reading too much into a single moment of humanity? Let us know. And if this story got you right in the football fields, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more chaos, character arcs, and locker room legends in the making. Because moments like this, they don't just go viral. They echo